Hi everybody, welcome back to Joe's Movie Lounge, brought to you by Midas from the St. Louis Science Center studio. It's a big week in the movie biz because the Oscars are this weekend, but in the theaters there's not a whole lot going on. February, as we said last week, is sort of a dump month, but it is a pretty good month for old guys in action movies. Last week we had Kevin Costner in 3 Days to Kill, which was his version of the Taken movies. Well, now we have Mr. Taken himself, Liam Neeson, in a sort of riff on old alcoholic guy having to kick butt in a dangerous situation, that genre. This movie is called NonStop. Neeson plays a U.S. air marshal who's on an overseas flight from the U.S. to London when he gets a text message saying, "I'm going to kill one passenger every 20 minutes unless you pay me $150 million. So it becomes this movie where you spend about an hour trying to figure out who the perp is on the plane, and you look at every one of these ordinary looking passengers to see if they could be suspicious. So you've got an Arab guy, and you've got a bullet-headed ex-cop, and you've got a little girl flying by herself. I bet it's her. Or it could be the flight attendant. Or it could be that friendly woman sitting next to Liam Neeson, played by Julianne Moore. You just don't know. And so for about an hour, people start dying in nefarious ways, and Liam Neeson continues to break down mentally, and he goes to the bathroom to smoke a cigarette and drink. It really is a claustrophobic kind of movie because there isn't that far it can go. It all takes place in an aluminum tube. For what it is, it's fine. It's a popcorn movie. It really is sort of the quintessence of a popcorn movie. You know what you're getting into when you go see a movie like this, and by golly, that's what you're going to get. Now, for something completely different, we have one of the Oscar nominees for Best Animated Feature. This movie is called The Wind Rises by Hayao Miyazaki, who is sort of the Walt Disney of Japan. He is the king of anime. He's announced that this will be his last movie, the last movie he directs, because he's in his 70s now. He's already won an Oscar for Spirited Away, and he's a legendary figure. This is a real kind of fond look backwards at the history of Japan in the 20th century, specifically about this fellow who helped develop Japan's aviation industry, or more specifically their fighter planes, their warplanes in World War II. So this young man who dreams of flight and he daydreams about the clouds, he's a very likable fellow, but he's also building war machines. And that's kind of the problem with this movie, is it skips over the fact that we're watching a movie about the guy who built the planes that attacked the U.S. In Pearl Harbor, and all that ugly war stuff is kind of glossed over in this movie. It really is lovely to look at. Miyazaki makes wonderful movies with a lot of nature scenes and waving fields of grass and big-eyed young people falling in love, but there's just a disconnect between the subject and the execution. So it's a qualified recommendation. I don't think it's among the best of his films, and I don't think it's among the best of the animated films of recent years, even though it is probably going to win the Oscar. We'll see who wins the Oscar on Sunday night, so stay tuned. I'll be reporting on that. But until then, this is Joe Williams for Joe's Movie Lounge, brought to you by Midas from the St. Louis Science Center studio. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Brought to you by Midas. They'll tell you what you need and what can wait. Trust the Midas touch.